Ryan. Basically, the third ranked amateur flyweight that there is. Obviously, there's Andy Yates and Christian Tebbett above him. But as far as I'm aware, both of them are looking to now go pro or have gone pro. The Yates was scheduled to have his debut, unfortunately couldn't have it. And then Christian Tebbett, I'm not too sure, but I do know both of them are looking at pro. So I've got Sheldon Ryan, who's basically the third ranked amateur flyweight that there is at the moment. You alright, buddy?
Yes, mate. How's it going?
Not too bad. So I'll get right into it. Obviously, May 28th, you come back against Malik Basahel. So going into that fight, how are you feeling just a couple of weeks out from it?
Yeah, feeling good. Weight's on point. Training's on point. So I'm just looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting out of the way. I just want to fight and fight and fight, to be honest. But I'm sick of waiting 8 weeks to 10 weeks to fight again. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to get this in and hopefully another 3 or 4 this year.
Yeah, and as well, in terms of your amateur career, obviously, you've already had a lot of success in there. You've beaten some big names as well throughout the whole thing. So is this pro switch something that's coming into your mind as of yet? Or is there still some amateur matchups that you want to get before turning pro?
No, well, it's actually been in my mind for a few years, to be honest. Before lockdown, I was going to switch. And then when lockdown come in place, when I went back to the gym, my coach just said you're going to need to get sharp again, like in terms of, fighting sharp condition. So yeah, that's why we've ended up having 3 more amateurs since then. So obviously this is going to be the 4th, but I think 10 amateurs is a good base to turn pro with. Because after this one, it's going to be 10 fights I've had. So, and I've had about 10 interclubs. So then it's about 20 fights all in all, at different levels. So I think that's the experience you need, before you turn pro.
Yeah, and as well, in terms of the amateur rankings, obviously, it's got you at 5, but the 2 people above you, Andy Yates and Christian Tebbett, they've both made that pro switch, as I believe they've both gone pro. So for a long while, you've been in that top 3 amateur range in terms of the flyweights. But is there still anything that you're looking to accomplish at the amateur level in terms of getting any belts or anything like that? Or is it at this point you just want the matchups and see where you're at?
I did want some belts, but I don't sort my fights out. I leave it up to Mengo. He deals with all the matchup. He knows more than me. He's fought longer than me. He's trained longer than me, and he's my coach. So, in terms of the matchup, he decides it all. But I would have liked some belts. I would have liked some fights, but it's hard to get the fights when you've got all these guys that say that they're the top guys and they don't fight all the other guys that are supposed to be the top guys. Then, it's tough to get fights. So that's how it's been. Been asking everybody for a fight, the belts, and they're just not took it.
Yeah, and as well, as you've mentioned there, obviously, I've heard from a few other flyweights that they've got the same issue when they're around that rankings as well.
Yeah.
So when you do have those sort of issues in terms of getting the match, or when you've got people that are turning it down, maybe even a few weeks out, or, in some cases a few days away, what is that like in terms of a fighter just trying to get a fight, not knowing whether you're actually going to get an opponent or not, but still having to train in case you do?
That's the benefit of leaving it up to Menga, to be honest, because I don't have anything to do with the matchup, so I just tell him to deal with it, and so I don't really hear much of people pulling out. I only get told, he usually tells me after the fights, to be honest. After the fight, he's like, oh, he was meant to fight him, and then you end up with 3 or 4 matchups, so he don't even bother telling me no more. He just, when we found out who's actually fighting. But this is the thing with Almighty, it's been really easy to get good matchups, like obviously Joe was a good fight, and now Malik seems to be a good fight, so this is why I'm quite happy at Almighty, just because he's getting me the matchups I need.
Yeah, and as well, in terms, as you mentioned in that last fight of Joe Fields, unfortunately it didn't go your way, but what were the sort of biggest takeaways from that fight in terms of the performance?
I'd say it was probably my worst performance to date if you go off all the other, because I just didn't go to plan, just as simple as that. Joe fought a good sort of fundamental fight plan, but it worked. So, you've got to give credit where it's due. I'm not taking credit away from nobody in the amateur scene.
Well, was the grappling in terms of that you saw in that fight something that you really expected to come out so heavily? So obviously before he'd been a lot more known as a striker, but then come out as a wrestler in that. Was that something that you was ready for, or was that something that you knew he'd try and do?
No, to be honest, I didn't really expect him to grapple much, if I'm being honest. I wasn't surprised, but I was more focused on the striking. I wanted to fight. I wanted to stand there and just swing. I just wanted to do something for the fans. Like when you get in near the pro division as well, I've been training wrestling jiu-jitsu for years now. And I'm training wrestling jiu-jitsu not to sub people, to stop people taking me down so I can knock them out. It's as simple as that. Like, I'm not training jiu-jitsu to sub people. I'm training jiu-jitsu to stop them from subbing me. I don't want to sub people. I want to knock people out. So it was a little bit of a surprise, but it's on my back, innit, really. If he takes me down, it's my fault. I've let him take me down. So it was probably the worst performance I've had, but it was a good performance from Joe.
Yeah, and in terms of, you mentioned obviously the striking, it seems a lot of the time that when you do have your fights, people are much happier just to give you a takedown and let you stay in the top position and just control them for the round and do as you wish. But in terms of the striking exchanges, what obviously it's something that people don't get to see too much in your fights. Is this something that you're going to look to showcase a bit more against Malik? Obviously, he's another good wrestler, so he might try and keep it on the feet, or is it just something that if you get to showcase it, you get to showcase it?
Yeah, it's an MMA fight, so if I get to showcase it, I will. I hope I can, but he seems like quite a strong wrestler, so I'm guessing he's going to probably come out and want to wrestle for the full fight. It's pretty obvious, isn't it, from his last 5 fights that he's going to want to wrestle, so yeah, it's probably going to be a wrestling match this fight, but hopefully I can catch him.
Yeah, and as well, in terms of the gym that you're training out of, there's a few good pro athletes, obviously. Just had one fight on the BMF card this past weekend, Singabani against Jamie Hayne, what was a great win for him. So to sort of be training around those sort of people that are in a similar situation in terms of they're all coming up as well, being in and around those people day in, day out, what is that like for you as well?
Oh, it's top, yes. I did a lot of Hussein's camp with him for this fight, and he's been really unlucky for the past couple of years. He's had a broken rib in every camp pretty much, except from this one. So it was nice to see him going into this camp fit and fresh. He's actually had really tough fights, in the pro ranks. I think he's 3-2 now. But his 2 defeats were absolute brawls, they were scraps. And it's brilliant for him going forward because you need that. But it was a good win from against Jamie. Jamie obviously wanted to take it straight to the ground. I didn't expect that, but I thought it was going to go to the ground earlier. But Hussein's striking's too good, It's just too good. He's going to kill people. Like once people start seeing a bit more of him and realizing what he's about, you're gonna want to speak to him a little bit more.
And obviously, you were mentioning there in terms of the fights that you've had as well. Obviously, you got to fight on Cage Warriors at one stage on a Manchester card a while back. When you first originally found out that you were going to be fighting on Cage Warriors, was there any sort of different feeling compared to when you get in fights on the regional shows, or was it sort of you just felt slightly the same when you got that fight as well?
Do you know what? It was just, my life was a bit crazy at that point, to be honest. But I just lost a title fight on FCC, and then I just went straight back into training the day after. I think I 10-8'd the kid for 3 rounds, then got submitted. I was gutted, and it was like my first defeat. So I went in the gym like a week later, and they just said, "Oh, you matched on Cage Warriors, by the way." So I was like, "Oh, I was buzzing about that." But my missus was in hospital at the time, and she actually was starting treatment like the day before the Cage Warriors fight. So if it wasn't Cage Warriors, I probably wouldn't have had a fight. But just because it was Cage Warriors, he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna fight." I spoke to my missus; she's in hospital, but she was like, "You can't not do it. It's Cage Warriors." So we did it, and it actually helped my missus quite a lot, to be honest, because she was quite ill at the time, and took me my little winners medal into the hospital with her after the fight that night. And it's just a nice experience, to be honest. The Cage Warriors one was the best experience.
Yeah, and as well, in terms of getting that matchup and being able to win as well, I mean, I'm sure in the future, in the pro career, it's something that you inevitably will be fighting on again. I'm sure after your first performance there and then seeing your performances that come after, they'll be wanting to have you on that show. So do you think, in a sense, that when you made that pro switch, that obviously Almighty's been a good promotion, and they seem to deal with a lot of great early pro talent, obviously the Liam McCracken, Scott Johnson, who you fought before as well, that they've dealt with very well. But is that something that you're looking to do, get a few fights on Almighty as a pro and then go to Cage Warriors and go from there, or is there not sort of really a plan for what you're planning to do during your pro career really on?
I just know September's supposed to be the date for the pro career, but we'll just see how it goes because it never goes to plan. But yeah, September's meant to be the time when I switch. But I'd rather just go straight to Cage Warriors and get a big fight and get a decent fight just to get me up there. But I'm not forced there. Almighty's been brilliant and raised top, so I'd be more than happy to have a couple pro fights on Almighty before I go to Cage Warriors. But I want that Cage Warriors belt, in the future. So that's the dream. I want to start climbing them ranks and getting the roster. But yeah, I'd be more than happy for Almighty.
Yeah, and as well as you may obviously being around a long time in the amateur place as well, I'm sure in your pro career early on, it even sets you up for a few rematches with some of the people that you fought at the amateurs as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So, is there anyone that you've fought before that you're looking to fight again, maybe in the pro scene, or is it something that if the offer goes through to your gym, obviously you'll take the fight, and it's just one of those things for you?
Every single flyweight in the country I want to fight, so every single one of them. So all 10 that I've already fought, I want to fight them again in the pro ranks, and then every single other one. I'm sick of the flyweights in this country, or the fighters in general. They don't fight everyone, just fight everyone. Like, just fucking fight. Like, stop bitching and fucking picking your fight. Just fight, man. Just find out who the best is. Fight everyone. Just have a scrap. It's easy. So yeah, I want to fight everyone.
Yeah, and as well in terms of, obviously, as you mentioned with K-Joy's, obviously, I'm sure once you get there, you're more able to get the matchups that you've been wanting in terms of the skill level. But when you do plan to make the pro switch, do you think it'll be a bit of a benefit for you? Obviously, if you're on the ground, you're getting 2 extra minutes to work, and in terms of the fighters, or is it something that just won't feel too much different in there in terms of the advantages it gives you?
Yeah, I think it'll suit my style, to be honest, a little bit better. When we do our sparring rounds, I preferably do. I don't necessarily do better, but I just control more of the rounds, with the 5 minutes. Can play around for the first minute, get the takedown, control, finish off, But I just feel like the 5 minutes is more beneficial to me. You see more finishes, it's a different pace, completely different pace. When we go from sparring 3-minute rounds in the gym, everyone's flying at each other. And then when you go to 5 minutes, it's a bit more of a slow pace, you know what I mean, with bursts. So I'm looking forward to it, man. I can't wait to switch to fives. Like, even after that fight with Joe, I was thinking, I wish that was 5 rounds, man. I just want to fight longer now. 9 minutes after you've done quite a few fights, 9 minutes don't feel too long. When you've had like 8 or 9 fights, you start looking at the 9 minutes and you think, oh, it's not long enough, that. You need a bit longer now.
Yeah, and as well, obviously, you've got your amateur bout coming up as May 28th, as we've already discussed. I'm sure you won't be overlooking him in any sense at all. But is there a prediction or an ideal way of which you'd want that fight to go? Or is it something that on the night you're ready for whatever brings it and you'll just showcase what you normally do?
I don't really know till the night, to be honest. I'll be looking to knock him out, obviously. But other than that, we'll just see where it goes. I'm looking forward to feeling him, man. I just want to fight. I'm just looking forward to feeling how the fight goes, having a nice feeling there. I've already been in that cage before now, so get back in there, get the win, and maybe a first round finish, hopefully. Yeah, it just depends it depends on millions of things.
Yeah, and then far from me, obviously, if there's any sort of your sponsorships, your teammates, coaches, etc., that you want to shout out, obviously just feel free to go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, well, give Hussein a special shout out for that good win on the weekend. Everyone at the gym's doing well. We've got, I think there's about 3 or 4 of us on this almighty card, so tune in on the 28th of May, and it'll be on Live MMA. I've got a few sponsors. I've got Burger Capital, Ewan Denton Flooring, MVR, whose top I've got on. Give them all a check them all out, and give them a follow on Instagram.
Yeah, there you are. That's everything from me, obviously. May 28th, it promises to be an extremely good bout as well. So I appreciate your time, buddy, and best of luck for that fight come May 28th.
Yeah, nice to speak to you, mate. Take it easy.
You too, buddy.